Super excited about our guest today on the podcast with Brennan Bortz. He's actually my business partner. So lucky me, I have that one up when it comes to our topic today about AI, what it is, how we're going to be using it in the future, and what you need to be doing now to be prepared for what's coming. Because if you don't start using the AI technology now, you'll fall behind. Am I right?
Yes.
So Brennan Bortz is my business partner out here in Texas. We have a couple of different companies. We own property and casualty insurance agencies and some Medicare life healthcare agent and a Medicare health and life agency out here in Houston, Texas. And we've been in the insurance world for almost 15 years. One of our partners, it's almost been 15 years for him. And I came shortly after that. Brennan and our other brother came in a little bit later. But here's the deal. Brennan actually has been learning and understanding what AI is for years. 15 years, actually. He is an AI technology strategist. I guess is kind of the best term for him. Maybe even a little bit, maybe consider yourself an engineer. He's been programming for years, 15 years of studying AI though, which is amazing because it wasn't a thing 15 years ago. That's what's crazy. So what was it that got you interested in AI 15 years ago?
Well, it depends on who you ask. It was always a thing. I even remember back when I was 13 years old, I taught myself scripting. That's actually how I got into programming. And I would build little bots that would play video games for me. So that was my interest back then and kind of what led me into this journey of not just software, but also AI. Mm-hmm. So back then, people would ask me, why would you build a bot that would play a game for you? And to me, it wasn't about playing or winning the game. It was about building something that could play the game for you. And I think that also kind of hints at the philosophy behind AI in general and how to use it as your business. Mm-hmm. That's clever. Kind of my entry point for AI was back when I was 13. I scripted for online games to play them for me. I moved on to just teaching myself C++ and a bunch of other coding languages. By the time I was 18, I was ready to get out of school and just start my career in software engineering. By my early 20s, that passion shifted really heavily towards applications for AI as well. So from then, I spent a few years just doing independent AI research. I moved into eventually going back into software engineering and trying to have hybrid approaches where we use AI to solve business application problems. So that's where I am now.
Unbelievable. But it started back in the gaming days when you were a teenager, huh?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, guys, I think that as we're talking about AI, most people, especially insurance agents, I don't know why that world is so far behind, but AI is a foreign language. It really is. So I guess in the most simple English language, how would you explain what AI is?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that starter philosophy that I had. It's about making your life easier. It's about solving problems for you, whether you're a business user, whether you're trying to play video games, anything that you have a task that you can do manually, theoretically, you can create a program that could do the same thing. So what AI in recent times has become now, it's a very general tool. A lot of businesses use these large language models like ChatGPT, which is OpenAI's product, to be able to manipulate text into new text. So it transforms your input into some output. And that's kind of behind the scenes exactly what it's doing. It's not it's not really intelligent in that sense. People call it AI because it kind of captures a lot of things that we envision an artificially intelligent system be able to do. But for all practical purposes, it's just another piece of software that does some really interesting things.
Well, I think that the idea of AI versus automation is something that we'll talk about later, actually. We'll definitely talk about that because those two definitely can intercross in communications on information online, and they're two different things. So I do want to get into that, but I think I really want to know what excites you the most about AI. Why have you dedicated so many years of your life to understanding this before it was even a thing? What is it that really triggered? So
I think a lot of people may equate the idea of AI to taking your job. But actually, when you look at it in its purest vision, it's to enable humans. It's to free us from the menial things, the grunt work, the things that can be automated and done and sometimes in a better way, so that you as a human can focus on higher tasks. And you can think of this as an analogy inside businesses too. When you start a company, you are that grunt layer of your company. You are the one that's running through the trenches and solving the problems, putting out fires. When you hire someone that you can train into those roles to take over that, putting out the fires on that layer, where do you go? You go into some new higher layer where you're able to see kind of bigger picture. And so, AI kind of is that same thing for employees or anyone on your staff, where they can now have their own assistant come in underneath them that can learn what they've done, that you can train into handling specific tasks or performing a certain role for you, so that you don't have to be doing that anymore, so that you can start doing something else that's more impactful.
That's true. That's very true. Well, and talking about doing things that could be more impactful with your time and your abilities, what can people start doing to prepare for what's coming? I mean, I think that that's a future that none of us really fully grasp or understand what's to come, but you've got a pretty good idea. So what should we be doing now to be prepared for that?
I would say a lot of it...
Specifically as insurance agents and as business owners, but independent agents too.
Yeah, okay. I'll start with a general picture first. I think that just education generally is what's going to help anyone. So learning these systems that are available, researching, using ChatGPT or Claude, whatever your favorite chatbot is, asking it to do internet searches for latest technologies for your use cases. And then this is where I'd like to go a little bit more into specifically for insurance agencies. It's very much the same process where if you have a particular problem, don't just try to figure the problem out on your own anymore. Leverage the technology, the knowledge bases that these AI have been trained on to help you solve problems and help you reason more deeply about your problem set. So I know a lot of us, especially as business owners, we're not exactly stubborn, but we've learned a specific way of doing something. And it's really important to untrench ourselves from our habits. And when you kind of habituate yourself, you're able to find better solutions for things that, maybe you have a great solution already, but AI can sometimes come up with expert level solutions in that same domain way better than you can. No offense, but that's what it's there for. It's a tool to empower you. So use that.
I'm not offended. I mean, these are genius robots that have an unlimited knowledge and ability to keep learning. So it is what it is, right? Like we can be offended or be afraid of something, I guess, afraid of something that might take over our opportunity and our future. We can embrace it. I mean, that's the truth. It's coming no matter what. So we've got to get prepared. And that's why we're here today. I'd love to talk now about some more tactical approaches and like real lifetime things that we use AI for, or even automation, but AI specifically within our insurance agencies. And Brennan, I'd love to kind of get some feedback from you on how you're doing it, because I know since you are the technology officer of our companies and you are the CEO of Inscendo Automation, you probably use it in different ways than I do day to day. So any practical or tactical, I guess I should say, daily tools that you use or maybe techniques that you use that would be usable for the rest of the insurance world?
Yeah, I would say, a lot of these models like OpenAI, they're allowing you to upload your knowledge base. You can connect it to your Google Drive, to whatever kind of online Drive account you have. And if you've got your documentation for how you're running your business in one place, at least if it's digitized, you can actually use your chat bot to be able to search your document set and answer questions. So, for example, recently, one of the things I did as a personal project was setting up a trust for a family member. There are dozens of documents, and each document can be dozens more of pages. So we're talking about hundreds of pages. And when you need to answer a question about it, usually you would go to your attorney. You would go to someone who has some, in-depth knowledge about how that document was set up. Now you don't need that, because you can just ask it, what is the, simulate a scenario for this estate where, maybe the estate earns, 5% on the net worth, every year. And how does that influence my tax, my tax concerns and stuff? It's able to scan through all your documents with that same prompt and try to answer, within the confines of the document set that you have, also with the trained knowledge that it's been trained on, billions of different documents that it's been trained on before. So it can leverage both its trained knowledge and also your documents for your specific knowledge in order to try to come up with some reasonable answer for that. And
building a trust, these legal documents and contracts. Yeah.
The interesting thing also is, and what I'm seeing in a lot of I'm going to reference OpenAI again with its code interpreter. It can actually, you can talk to it, and if you got it connected, you can also ask it. It can generate Python programs that it can just execute on the fly in order to do certain calculations for you, so that it can create graphs for you based on what those, if you going back to the estate scenario again, you can ask it to graph like what the your trajectory looks like given the tax consequences and the interest consequences that you're gaining in your portfolio. And it can help you calculate that. So
it's amazing.
Don't assume that it can't do something. Always assume that it can do something and try it. That's the best kind of advice I can give you for
and the more that I understand AI, the more that I realize, if you could think about anything that requires a certification or extensive knowledge and research to understand better, technically it can't be used to replace all certifications yet, but it has an unlimited access to all knowledge that's in the world. So anything that you needed someone to come in and create for you before because you didn't have the know-how to do it, that's what these bots can do, which is incredible. A couple ways that we're using it in our agencies right now is the most obvious things. Go to ChatGPT, dump in an idea, a thought, maybe even a couple of sentences or a full page of something to refine, create emails, social media content, posts, ideas, refine or fix compensation plan issues, find issues within documents before you release it to your staff, like handbooks, missing holes in any kind of agreement that you might be rolling out between your team, vendors, or somebody else. We use it daily, actually, on our sales side. Our one of the other partners, have you seen Ryan's emails that he sends out to the sales team?
Yes.
To get them hyped up. It's a great tool to hype up your sales team. Like, hey, when you throw in a couple of reports into ChatGPT, it can generate an exciting, goal-driven piece of email that like highlights your top producers in different categories in a matter of seconds. You throw in the reports, instead of creating or spending an hour deciphering that and typing something up every day, it's in minutes. So it's an excellent way to entice and get your sales team to always be striving for that goal for the end of the week. We definitely use AI when it comes to social media because we use it for almost all of our content creation. But also we need to be using it more on Facebook. I know we're using it in Google, but use it in Facebook. There's that option there. Start testing every time you find a way to use AI. Test it. See what it does. You don't know what it does until you practice with it and see what it's capable of. We've used a lot of programs recently that are amazing. If you haven't heard of Opus Clip, we'll be using it for this podcast, I'm sure. But you dump a ginormous file into it, like a video file that could be an hour long, and you click a freaking button, and it generates like 60, 30-second clips that are bite-sized and nuggets that you can then post on social or email out, whatever you need to do with your content, in a matter of seconds. So no more editing. It transcribes or gives what the person's saying on the screen in a matter of seconds. So we use Opus Clip.
Yeah.
That's something that we use pretty regularly. There's this new program that I found not too long ago, just from scrolling through social. Someone sent it to me. A friend sent it to me, and it's called. What's the name of that? Did I write that down? Because I wanted to. It's a really cool tool. Typeset. You basically can throw a document or even an idea and click a button there, and it creates an entire ebook for you, or a platform, maybe a set of slides. You got a presentation coming up. You don't know or don't want to have don't have the time to be creative to create the slides and have the presentation or the ebook created. It formats it, generates AI generated custom imaging for your ebook or your slides. It's just a super great tool that you can use in a matter of seconds. That's something else we use. Can you think of anything else that we're using on a regular basis that's helped us? tremendously with efficiencies or?
I mean, we're building a lot of things behind the scenes as products for agencies, but yeah, nothing that
Besides
I can really
that,
think of.
because we definitely are, and I'm excited to share that with everybody when it's time. Obviously, we're building some pretty amazing tools. But yes, so Brennan's in it every day. On the agency side, on the practical agency side, those are the most frequent tools that we probably use it for, ChatGPT and the ones that I mentioned. And then, of course, there are some tools like I know allcalls.io, Enroll Here. On the Medicare side, there's some tools on the PNC side too that help you with compliance within the agency. As your staff members are on calls, it can kind of figure out where things, potential sales opportunities too, right? Cross-sell potential, compliance issues. It's all just a transcription, and AI can read through it in a matter of seconds. So those are some pretty cool tools. We have used those tools in the past year too. So it's endless. Hopefully that's enough tactical uses that can show you how we're actively using it.
I would also say CRMs in general they are coming out with a lot of really incredible features right now, where you can do automated AI generated text messages to your customers, and
Yep.
you might want to be very careful about how you implement that and monitor it, and just use a lot of scrutiny when you're trying to create the prompts that you use to generate those messages. And it might even be wiser to provide pre-selected templates in your prompt, so that it knows what kind of the guardrails are for it when it's generating these these automated responses. But it can work pretty good where it can take the customer's name and even use that in a creative way. You don't have to hard code anything. It's just LLMs these days, like ChatGPT. They're very good at just taking some text and reformatting it into a new use case. So.
It is. Well, and even when you said CRMs, there's tons of tools in the CRMs, like the instant Google review responses that are happening. All you do is sync your Google My Business page to it, and it starts to reply for you. Again, this technology is new, so when something's new, you want to test it and still have some control over it to ensure that it's spitting out the output that you want. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. AI assistants are out there left and right. I know a lot of people that are using those. We haven't used those in our businesses yet. But again, we use AI in a lot of ways because we're actually developing it. So a few tactical things now. We'll talk about the other stuff that's coming a little bit later. I think the next direction I want to go is the biggest misconception in the world of AI. I have a few ideas on the top of my head, but I think we talked earlier about automation versus AI and what the differences are.
There are lots of misconceptions, and I think that instead of looking at the biggest one, it might actually be more fruitful to talk about how does it even work. So when people talk about AI these days, a lot of the times we're talking about large language models, although there's other modalities that are coming out, like vision. But then the way that these large language models work, if you know how it works behind the hood a little bit, then you can kind of know what's actually happening. So LLM runs on the GPT architecture, which is that was the big revolution that came out. These transformers that came out. It was a paper in 2017 by Google that released these ideas, and then from there on, they just started scaling these models up bigger and bigger, more compute, more parameters, weights. And ultimately, we ended up getting something that started hitting mainstream, like back in 2023 when OpenAI released their this big product. It just caught fire with everyone, not just AI people, but business users, anyone. So the way that those models work, and I think this is where it'll help clear up a lot of the misconceptions, is all that it does is it generates the very next what's called a token, which is, you can think of it like a fragment of a word or a couple characters. But just to simplify it, think of it like it's just trying to predict what the very next word should be in a particular sequence, given some context, some history. So if you chatted some paragraphs to it, those chatted paragraphs become the context window, or the context for the next thing that the language model is going to generate. So what it's doing under the hood is it's taking all of this and it's predicting based on all of the previous trainings it's received on other data sets that are similar. It's predicting the very next word that should show up. And it might start with the word "the," as part of a response to you. Then it's predicting what the next likely word is going to be based on the previous context that it sees with your current chat, plus the training that it's received over all these billions of documents it's been trained on it, when they built the model. So all it's doing is it's predicting the very next word that's most likely to show up there. So when you get some kind of a document that's, got some legalese in it, and you ask it to continue the document, it can do that because it's just predicting statistically this word, the letter, the word "the" or something has a 99% chance of showing up right here. That's kind of a simplified view of how it works, but that's what it does, and it just iterates that the next token, and the next token, and the next token, and the next token. That's why when you talk with ChatGPT, it spits it out as like a stream of
It does.
word. It doesn't just give you a document because
right.
there's no document. It doesesn't exist. And that's where the word generative
That's so
comes
true.
from.
It's literally
exist.
like it's
just
typing it as it's thinking it or finding the data.
That's right. So that can help you understand a lot of things. But what you should know, and this is where it becomes really critical, it's the more chat that you allow it to generate, the more compute cycles that it has to do to generate that output. And so what that might mean is when you give it like a big, crazy document of text that might be really hard for it to parse and understand with one token. So if you say like with that document, you say, I want you to give me a yes or no response. Does this document cover such and such? And then it'll give you, because it knows that your question was a 1 or 2 token response, like a yes or no word. It's only going to have a few thousand iterations inside of this model to be able to generate the yes or the no, which means there's real compute that's happening behind the scenes, which you don't see, where it's scanning over that entire document. You could think of it this way: scanning over that entire document thousands of times, and then trying to generate, do I say yes to this question or no to this question? And by limiting its response, its output, you actually can hurt it. So there's been studies about, OpenAI saying they're spending millions of dollars, I think, don't quote me on this, but on the tokens that are generated for things like please and thank you even. But those become, enriched, an enriched way for these models to generate their output because they've been trained on human data, and human data has a lot of those pleasantries. So when you remove those from the sample, now you're left with a weirder context for it to be able to generate the next tokens with.
Right.
So what that means is if you try to restrict the prompt output in very formatted ways, sometimes it helps for you to define in your prompt to first explain relevant pieces inside your document or whatever as part of its response before giving you some final answer or a summary. So kind of ask it to kind of summarize its thought processes first, so it has more tokens to spit out and more compute cycles to work against your document to be able to extract more relevant insights, and then it can give you a final response at the end. But that way it's been able to explore more. You're able to use more with those tokens that are being output. And so you get much better responses when you focus on how you're building your prompt. And there's a whole thing called prompt engineering that's out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what those that are using AI right now are understanding. If not learning, they know how to appropriately prompt or ask these engines to create whatever they need for them. It is prompt engineering. And, Brennan, sometimes you talk, and I know that I'm not the only one thinking this right now. Please help me here, guys, because when you talk, sometimes I'm just like, whoosh. And so I understand the basics of it, but the prompting is the key. I mean, that's ultimately what you're trying to say. Understanding the back end of how AI works is super important because it allows you to use it in a more customizable way. One thing that we didn't talk about yet is the difference between automation and AI. So again, if we're like in our world, we keep talking about automation in the insurance industry, especially for agencies and and individual agents, setting up automated tools to help lead flow, to help processes within the agency is something we're doing for a while, but it's not the same thing as AI. AI learns, we know that, but any other major difference between the two?
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to say there's a difference there because when you're just looking at the code, you're like it's all code. But I'm always reminded of my past, like when I was doing scripting, building little bots that would play video games for me back in my teenage years. I think about that as just software. It's more of a bot. It's not really AI because you don't have a neural network. You don't have any kind of like nodes or anything behind the scenes that are generating outputs and transforming your inputs. But any program that you write could be considered AI in a very loose extent. That's why it's hard for me to draw a boundary. to it, because if it's a program that receives an input and it gives you an output, it's done some transformation. It's performed a function on your input to generate some output. So I guess in ways that are meaningful, like meaningful differences, you could say AI can be used to learn. You can say that it's set up in such a way that you can give it documents that it's never seen before, and if you are fine tuning your model, then it can produce it can do some learning over those documents, so that your next inputs to the model, it has all that stuff in it built into its context already. That's a good point you make about learning. And I would also say another difference is that language models are incredibly flexible, whereas if you have just an automation would follow a very rigid structure. If this happens, then I want you to do that. If this happens, then I want you to do that.
Right.
There's great use cases for automations, which could be where you as a business owner, you want to have very strong control over the outputs. So like sending text messages, that might be one of those scenarios where you might want to have a stronger form of control over it. So you might want to have an automation for that. Okay. So a lot of CRMs have that ability to create an automation, a workflow. But when it comes to AI is, if you're thinking about large language models in that context, then really the issue is these can generate any kind of arbitrary output. Like, we don't really know what it's generating. In fact, we don't even really know why it comes up with the kind of reasoning it comes up with sometimes. So when you need an audit log and to know when and why something went wrong, an automation is kind of the preferable option. Whereas if you want it to be very flexible and kind of answer things in a human natural way and not using like natural language, then that's when you might want to use what we're calling AI, like ChatGPT.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and one thing, as you were talking, I was thinking about how the fact that when you're using these models, these programs that can learn, you want to maximize that. And so ChatGPT is something you can buy a pro version for, which is what I did. And a lot of people that I think are using it already have understood that you want these tools to learn more about you, what's important to you, what's not important to you, where your weaknesses might be, where your strengths might be, so that it can target its content based on that. So definitely, that was another tip that I wanted to mention that I think is huge, because now after using it for so long, it gives me reports, it gives me ideas based on the understanding that I'm an insurance agency owner, based on the idea that we have innovative technology, AI technology that's coming our way. And so it's a super cool way to keep developing and growing with AI. As it goes, is just to get the pro version of ChatGPT. So,
and also when you're talking about that, and the way that it kind of learns about you, I kind of neglected to mention that like ChatGPT does keep memories of you if you want it to. And so, yes, you're right. It can even kind of contextualize a lot of what you're doing and store a little knowledge base about that kind of summarizes these memories, so-called, about its previous conversations with you, so that the next time you're talking to it, it's referencing those inside of the current context.
This stuff knows you. It knows you well. And so whatever you plug into it, it's remembering, especially if you have that pro version. And it's crazy. It's insane that it's a human almost that I can communicate with, and it knows exactly what I'm needing in that moment, better than I would know myself. So yeah.
And as far as like to get back a little bit to misconceptions and also the idea of automation and AI, like that's a very strong misconception right there, that they are the same, even though like you look at it, it's all code. Some of the more interesting things, and the things that I would say are more on the scale of AI rather than an automation, is when you need it to do some kind of deep reasoning. So you can build a program like an automation that will step, and, logically through some kind of process that you want it to follow. But when you don't know what that process needs to look like inside your CRM or in any kind of scenario, you may want the chatbot instead to do some deeper reasoning.
Yes. So that is guiding the output, not your own understanding of it.
Right. And that's where it also becomes kind of crucial to know the way that these work is it generates just the next token. And then once it's done that, it adds that to the context, and then the next token. And then that becomes part of the previous context. And then it's predicting what the next token should be. And how it actually is able to generate some reasoning in these words just by predicting what that next token should be. It's pretty amazing that it can do that to begin with. But the reason why is because it's been trained on tons of past documents that have this this reasoning built into it that came from human minds. So the human minds have explored how to break down these logical concepts into text, which has baked in this logic that was already done up here in some brilliant human's mind in the past at some point. So the language model, just by statistically predicting the next word, it implicitly has that kind of training baked into it, where it can reason like expert engineers, expert legal people, expert doctors, whatever.
Based on past mistakes, issues, or problems that have been found by a human before.
That's right.
That's
and so
crazy.
You can kind of tie
It's very true.
You can tune into that. It's called latent space, by trying to prompt it and say, I want you to be like a software engineer, and I want you to solve a problem, as an architect or whatever. And then that kind of also kind of frames it so that it knows more about what kind of reasoning to lean on while it's responding. So that's another little prompt engineering tip that's out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that the next generation of what AI is coming sooner rather than later. I think in the next, would you say 1 to 3 years, we're going to see some pretty incredible change in our day-to-day lives within a business and the use of AI, or is this more 5 to 10 years out?
Yeah, well, I think that we're already seeing it, but for those who are not really following, AI or the new releases that are coming out, you may feel like, well, I don't see it making any changes right now, but it is. There's tons of things on the deep tech side, like Google released this model that has actually been able to improve a lot of performance on state-of-the-art algorithms that have been used for over 50 years, specifically for matrix multiplication. But there's tons of things like that happening already in the tech world, where we're seeing this take off in really interesting ways that it was not possible to make these breakthroughs in the past with traditional software. So yes, on that side. Now for the typical user who's like an insurance agencies, I'd say also yes, there are tons of tools out there that are coming out that are becoming more readily available inside your CRMs and and other platforms that you might already be using. But I think that there's probably a lot more to be done still on the technology front to be able to bring these solutions to agencies. And so that's a large part of what I'm passionate about. It's figuring out what software hurdles there are using traditional software for insurance agencies, and how can we bridge that gap using these new models, these new AI models.
Yeah, bridging the gap is, you said this earlier when we were talking about it, bridging the gap is going to be a very difficult thing if these tools, programs, AI engineers can't find a way to make this new technology easily understandable and to be used by the average Joe. So that's like me, right? I'm not this super tech savvy person. I mean, I guess to most people, I probably would be considered that, but sitting next to you, I'm a dummy, right? But really being able to dumb down, to explain in easy bite-sized pieces, and also have like these clear guidelines. That's one thing that I think AI is missing right now. It's so new. There's not clarity on where to start, on how to build. And so I think that's one piece that's going to be needed to bridge the gap. What I love about what's coming, and that I'm stoked about, is that we have your mind, your ability to build this tool, these kind of tools, Brennan, because you've been studying it for years. But then you have the agency side, the agency force, which is us, that has been building and growing agencies for years. So I think the two together, that collaborative effort, will make it, we will work as a team to make AI, the tools that we're developing, of course, but AI in general, to give education, to give guidelines, and step-by-step procedures. Speaking of step-by-step procedures, what would you say the very first thing somebody should do if they've not ever touched AI in their life? It scares the crud out of them. What's the first thing you tell them to do that you would think that would be a good start?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously start using it. So go to Google or wherever and type in, like ChatGPT. I want you to do your own research about which, large language model you want to use for your day-to-day chatting. But there's OpenAI's ChatGPT, you've got Anthropic's Claude. So like you can just visit their websites and sign up and start chatting with them. That's the first step.
That is the first step. Just using the models that are super easy to interact with, because there's a massive chat box. You type your question or thought and it starts speaking to you, right? One thing I did a while back when all this was still pretty new to me is I would ask the tool, what I should ask it. And so I would ask things like, as an insurance agent, what could ChatGPT help me with? Right? Hey, ChatGPT, what questions should I be asking you if I want to improve my revenue? If I'm losing too many clients monthly and I'm too busy on the sales side to try to keep up with retention, what is a quick and efficient way or something I can implement within a matter of minutes to help retain clients better? I mean, just start. You won't really know the questions to ask or how to prompt it until you start letting your mind go wild and start typing into it as you come up with a thought. And the things that it does for you at the end is pretty incredible on these chatbots. At the end, it'll give you a prompt or a question or an idea to take your thought to the next level. So after you'll ask a question to improve functionality with something or efficiencies in the office or sales techniques, it says, would you like me to create a manual for your sales team with a step-by-step guide on what we just talked about? And I'm like, well, yeah, please do, because it saves me some, hours of my time to get that figured out. So after you start prompting it, I think that's what I would really encourage all of our viewers to do first. And I'll look into the camera when I say this. I don't know which one, but this one. All right, thank you. The first thing you should do, and take this from a not super tech savvy person myself, and I may be more tech savvy than the normal user, but I knew nothing about AI a year or two ago, right? So what you need to start doing is that find a ChatGPT or a language model. I use ChatGPT that's super easy to communicate with, and start typing thoughts and questions into it. You'll see that at the end of these prompts, it'll start to teach you what you should be asking or how it can help you in your business. So that is definitely the first step in my mind as an agency owner. And I think we'll wrap this up and finish with talking a little bit about teasing our technology that's coming. Brennan's super humble. You won't hear from him much on social unless I have him doing an interview with me. But Brennan has been really learning about AI for 15 years. Recently, he started creating, and we do have some tools coming out that I really believe we know will revolutionize the sales force in the insurance industry. So what it's going to do is make us more efficient. It's going to, both on the sales side and the customer service side, efficiencies within the office. It's going to be insane. So what I want y'all to do next is to follow us. We're on social, Facebook, Instagram. Are you on Instagram?
Yep.
Okay.
Purpose and Atoms.
Purpose and Atoms. Is that your tag?
Yep.
Love it. I think don't laugh. It's at Brookie Beasley, I'm pretty sure, is my tag. But I'm Brooke Beasley, Brennan Bortz. Find us on social and follow us, because when we start to release these tools, when we create groups, I think your idea is to create a forum, which I love, where people can throw ideas or random questions to understand all of this AI better. We can notify you when those come out, and you'll be the first to know. We have some tools that will be beta-ing soon. We've already started beta-ing one of them. Am I right?
Yep.
We've got a couple of agencies on that now. Can't share much yet, but it's coming. If you want to be on the forefront of that, if you want to be a part of those beta projects and work with Brennan hand in hand through that to learn these tools and how they can revolutionize the sales or efficiencies within your, and not so much sales quite yet, but the efficiencies and overall ability to run an agency, then make sure you follow us so that you're the first to know. Okay? Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks.